It's widely known I'm far from being the #1 Porsche fan around here, and usually opt for driving something British, or even better still, Italian. However, once in a blue moon, I'm ordered to drive one of Stuttgart's finest. In this case, the RPM Technik CSR, known as Snakebite, that's been totally reworked from a bare shell in Hertfordshire of all places.
So tuning Porsches, it's hardly anything new, is it? But RPM Technik decided they'd go for the 996 and 997 generation, unlike everybody else that seems to be focusing on the latest or the oldest. This car started off life as just a very basic 997 Carrera S with 112,000 miles on the clock. But then it was given a full nut and bolt restoration and a full bare metal respray, changing it from Arctic silver to this Brewster green. It's a lovely colour. It's quite understated, which I like about this car, because rather than it being in your face like a GT3, it's meant to be pretty stealth. It's designed more as a Grand Tourer rather than an all-out track car, but you still get all the benefits of what you would want if you wanted a GT3. So why a 997? Well, RPM Technik thought, well, it's more of a analog base to begin with. And they're right, it is probably one of the last great Porsches before they started going for the electronic power steering. This having the old hydraulic system, it's got so much feel to the steering. At times it actually feels like it's not assisted at all. It's quite heavy. There's so much feedback. And as part of the upgrades, they fitted it with this lovely dished Momo steering wheel, so you just end up a little bit more focused. There's also none of that big airbag which you get in the centre, so that means you can see the custom-made CSR dials. So what exactly is a CSR? Well, it's exclusive. RPM Technik have said they will only build 50 chassis under the CSR brand. So what does CSR stand for? Well, I guess it doesn't really stand for anything. It's not an acronym. It's more of an ethos of bespoke, analog and regenerate. So let's run through them. Bespoke. Well, you can spec your car literally any colour you choose. Same for the interior. These bucket seats trimmed with a dark green leather, gold stitching, and then the 50th anniversary houndstooth really sets it off, and the whole car just works. I think with the carbon fibre ducktail too, that adds a bit of a sport classic look to the car, which is actually my favourite shape of Porsche. It's even got a bit more of a modern look to it, with the HRE 19-inch Weiss gold wheels. Personally, I might have gone for the sport classic style, but that's the thing. It's all down to how you choose to have your CSR. Then analog. Well, it began on quite an analog platform anyway, and everything's just been tuned to be so much more driver focused. It's got other lovely features like this shortened short shift gear stick and 917 style gear knob on top. The engine has been uprated, but not by a massive amount when you're considering power output. It started at 355 and it's been taken up to 370 brake horsepower. Although we used to have a GT3 which was apparently 409, but this actually feels quicker. With the GT3 you almost had to rev the nuts off it to get the most amount of power out, but this is so torquey from down the bottom end. like that. It just picks up and goes. And when you start going for it as well, it's just so free revving. It's got a lightened flywheel and clutch, which when you're on the downshifts, it just blips so nice. You can also spec your CSR with RPM Technik's very own mechanical differential, the only aftermarket one available in the world for a 997 Gen 1 or Gen 2. And it is adjustable, so if you want, you can have your CSR tuned to be lots and lots of fun. And regenerated, with it having had a full bare metal respray and the engine fully stripped and rebuilt, blueprinted, gas flowed heads. It was as good as new. The exhaust system alone cost around £7,000. It's not switchable, but it doesn't need to be. As soon as you're off the throttle, it's really quite quiet. You can just back off and enjoy cruising, which means it is perfect for being a Grand Tourer as it's been designed. But then, when you get onto some nice tight twisties, blip that free revving engine, get on the throttle and you get that wonderful flat six howl. The handling's also tweaked to suit your requirements, so if you think you're going to do a few track days, then you can have it set up a bit stiffer. One of the things that I've noticed whilst driving it is, because the car's been set up so well, although it has traction control, I actually feel like it doesn't need it. You've got that much confidence in the way that it handles that you're better off just turning it off. The power is so progressive that it's unlikely going to catch you out. It's a very greasy day today, and at times I've been driving with it off and never even realised. Now the reason it's so well set up is each car is given a full day's testing with none other than touring car legend Tim Harvey, and he knows a thing or two about setting a car up.
The whole feel of the CSR is very tight and driver focused. The deep dish Momo steering wheel with airbag delete complements the pin sharp steering, giving maximum feedback to the palm of your hands, unlike most modern cars. After many delightful hours driving on the nearby country roads, something strange took hold of me and I began falling for it like I've never fallen for a Porsche before. I started speccing my own CSR in my head, along the lines of this car but in speed yellow, with the rear seats put back in matching houndstooth of course, and the diff just that little bit tighter to ensure a sideways exit from any junction. Apologies for digressing here, but it really did get under my skin. So how does it compare with our old 997 GT3, currently advertised with RPM Technik at just under 84 grand, about the same sort of money? Well, personally, I think I'd go for the CSR. It's just more exclusive, and that comprehensive rebuild and refresh gives you the confidence to want to spank it more than you generally would for a 10-year-old or more car. The driver involvement, noise and capabilities are similar, yet unlike the two-seater GT3 with scaffolding in the back, the CSR doesn't have to make the same sacrifices. It has all the character of a car from its era, feeling very much like the GT3, but with enhanced usability, without losing any of the excitement. What would you go for? GT3 or CSR? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to click like and subscribe to the channel.